Welcome back to another devlog on Cave Story Before the Storm. It's been months since my last devlog, but I could say that it has been worth the effort because this is the biggest devlog by far with the amount of progress that has been made. So let's start. Curly is now blue. I wanted to do purple, but the blue kind of grew on me, so I decided to stick with that. I checked some beta screenshots to confirm that originally it was blue as well. I added some options, but it's not finished. You can change some stuff and it reflects in game. You can save the settings, pretty simple. I also changed the menu sound effects, but these are still a work in progress. Physics have been redone to be much more accurate to the original game. It's still not perfect, but much better than what I had before. The difference is to create the hang of the jump like in the original game. Curly's Y velocity is divided until reaching a certain position, when falling becomes linear. You can now interact with the environment and NPCs. This is probably my most unoptimized mechanic, but if it works mostly fine, then I guess there would be no reason to change it. It shows text and then a blank flashing character once all text has been read out. If you're interacting with a character, it can show a character icon. The character icons are made by Croissant, and I think they look nice and add a bit of extra character with the higher resolution they have. There's now an actual weapon, the Vulcan revolver. This will be the first weapon, and it has a limited amount of ammo. I have an idea for how I'm going to structure the collection of weapons and whatnot, but basically this is just a simple pistol that shoots out bullets and nothing more. This is also where I first learned about how to properly incorporate instancing in more ways, and it seems to have honestly worked out pretty well. There are now enemies, and so far only 4 of them. There are 2 soaps. The one that's gray does nothing, and the one that's orange can hurt you upon contact. There is a black soap that jumps around, and there are these fire things that are stationary and will hurt you if you touch them. The fire has 5 hit points while the others have only 1. I may change this for the fire and black soap though. When you kill an enemy, 2 things happen. First, this really cool particle animation that I made from looking at footage, and second, it drops Sion, which it will be the in-game currency inside of shops, which I plan to add later on. Because there are now enemies, you have health, and when it runs out, you die. Dying sends you back to the start and resets your progress for now. You can also drown, and I also redid the splash effects on the water. This is because throughout testing, I was getting micro stutters every time I would run the game and do specific actions, and I figured that it was because I wasn't instancing scenes in a way that would properly cache instances that would be used multiple times, and in some ways that also contributed to some memory leaks, which I managed to fix. I also added some chests that you can get stuff from, and there's also this little graphic that appears above Curly when you interact with objects. There are now 6 more rooms, which is a lot, and they all range from small to big. And then there's the bosses. If you've seen the Cave Story beta, the predominant antagonist is Pooh, who was later reformed into Balrog. I have remade 2 boss fights from Cave Story beta footage and looking at recreations. And that's about all the important changes that have been made. There are bugs in this version that I have to take care of, and also while working on this video, I made a concept for a potential weapon that I may add to the arsenal of weapons you can obtain throughout the game. It's a sniper rifle. Let me know what you think about it, because when I get around to implementing it, I think it would look pretty cool. One last thing to mention, I post a lot of progress over on Twitter before I make a devlog compiling everything I've done here onto YouTube, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're missing out, but if you like to keep up to date, then you can find me there. Here's some footage of what the gameplay looks like currently, and that's all for this devlog.